Hey, how's it going, guys? Coach Dustin here. I want to do a quick video just for some shadow boxing tips for you guys. During a lot of these live streams and home workouts we've been utilizing shadow boxing a lot, okay? Especially for those of us that don't have access to a heavy bag or something to actually work out on, okay? So I want to give you guys some good tips to help you at home when you're shadow boxing and practicing your skills during your home workouts, and even when you get back into the gym and you're working out in class if you're shadow boxing. I want to give you guys some tips to help you out. Okay, shadow boxing can feel really awkward or kind of weird at first, especially for new students and beginners. I can tell you firsthand when I first started, shadow boxing felt really awkward at first, and it was kind of strange trying to learn the purpose and understanding of what it is and why we do it, right? Mostly because you're punching the air. Think about the name, shadow boxing. You're boxing your shadow. Okay, so for most of us, if we've never done it before, it's going to be a little unusual, a little different, a little hard to figure out. Okay, so hopefully by giving you some of these tips, I can help you guys so that way you can get the most out of your shadow boxing when you're working out and when you're drilling. Okay, now again, go back to the name. Think about it. What is shadow boxing? You're boxing your shadow, right? So you're just punching the air. There's no um, physical target for you to hit. All right. So with that being said, you still have to have that mentality that you're trying to hit a target, right? You want it to resemble as much of your style or what you're doing as possible. Okay. Now, going into the purpose of why you're shadow boxing, there's a couple of reasons. Okay. One is really good. It's really good for learning technique, right? New combinations and skills. Okay. Just shadow boxing at first, there's no extra pressure of trying to hit a target or trying to hit hard, right? You're just working on controlling the body, going through your motions, and making everything smooth. Okay. Other purposes, you can use it as a cardiovascular workout, right? Depending on how good your shadow boxing is, or how fast you're going, or how much you're moving around. It's a really great workout, especially for martial artists and combat sports athletes. Okay, so I can say for me personally, I almost all my personal workouts, I'm always shadow boxing at some point during the workout. Usually it's in the beginning. I like to shadow box early because that helps me set my brain and focus on what it is that I want to accomplish during that workout or during that practice, right? But you can definitely throw them in the middle of the workout or at the end of the workout as a nice active rest. It's really good in the beginning too for warming up, loosening up, stretching, and getting your body ready for that practice and for that workout that you're going to do. So a couple of things you can use shadow boxing for, a couple of purposes behind it. Okay, and there's a couple styles, a couple different ways you can shadow box. Okay, stationary shadow boxing, you just stay on your spot, right? You just stay in one stationary spot and going through your techniques and your skills. All right, a lot of you know this, that we do that in class very often, right? We do a lot of stationary shadow boxing, especially when you're learning a new move or learning a new skill, okay? Or if we're reviewing the skill or the move that we've already went over, okay? You can do them in line drills, okay? So just adding some footwork or some motion, you can practice shadow boxing as you move forward, right? And move back, but everything is in a straight line there, okay? It's still shadow boxing, but you have a set path that your body's going to be moving when you do it. That's your line drill style shadow boxing. Then there's just full shadow boxing, standard shadow boxing where you're moving around, you're using all your footwork, okay, you're using all the area you have around you, you're throwing your punches, kicks, techniques, whatever it is you're working, okay? Now, a couple tips when you're shadow boxing. One, first tip, first thing to pay attention to is your stance, okay? No matter what style you do, okay? If we're boxing or gym ninjas, right, this is our stance. Gym ninjas, your fighting stance is pretty much your standard boxing stance here. Okay? Hands up, our feet are good, we're in balance, right? For my Muay Thai students, we're back here, right? This is our stance. Okay? For my Taekwondo students, right, we have this hand low to parry and block, other hand back, our weight's kind of more towards the back leg, right? And set up this way. All right, so first things first, make sure you got your stance down, okay, regardless of what style you're doing. Second thing, while you're in that stance, make sure you're in balance, right? No matter where your weight is, right? If you're style of your stance for Taekwondo, your weight's more on that back leg, that's fine, but make sure you're in balance. Make sure you're not leaning back too far to where you fall off balance or hinder your movement, okay? Same goes for the other stances, okay? So first thing first, work on your stance and your balance, all right? Second thing, hands up, okay? Or hands wherever they're supposed to be, right? If you're boxing students, you need to make sure those hands are where they're supposed to be to protect yourself. Even though you're shadow boxing, and there's no real threat of getting hit or getting injured, you have to pretend that there is, right? Again, we're trying to mimic how we would be actually moving around in a competition or in a self-defense situation. So you have to pretend that you can get hurt or you can get hit when you're shadow boxing. So keep those hands up so that way you can protect yourself, okay? Or at least be ready, keep your head moving, right? Think about the defense, think about protecting yourself. And that's tip 2, keep the hands up, think about your defense. And some of you guys that know how to throw those blocks in there, add that defense into your shadow boxing. Don't just be offensive the whole time, okay? If you're only just throwing attacks without defending, that's not very realistic to an actual fight, right? You're going to be getting hit back. You got to be able to throw a combination block and then keep throwing punches or attacks to follow. Okay. Second tip, or third tip, sorry, constant movement. The goal is to be moving constantly. Okay. Even if you're stationary, the goal is just to keep everything moving. Okay. Keep flowing, keep throwing attacks, doing whatever on that spot. But you want that motion to be constant. Okay. If you're doing your line drills, the same thing. If you're adding that footwork in and doing your standard full shadow boxing practice, you're just moving around. The motion is constant. Okay. That doesn't mean I need to move fast, right? Especially if I'm learning, it's a new technique or a new skill or combination that I'm trying to learn, right? I can do it slowly, but constant movement, okay? I'm not going fast, I'm not trying to hit hard, right? I'm just working on technique, making sure I'm getting back to my stance, making sure my hands are up like we talked about with the previous 2 tips, okay? Fourth tip, pick a skill or a combination to focus on, okay? That doesn't mean you have to do it for the entire time you're shadow boxing, okay? But a lot of times before I go to shadow box, I'll think to myself something I want to practice. Okay, so for example, if I'm boxing and I say, man, I really want to work on my jab. Okay, I'm still going to throw crosses, hooks, everything else, but I'm really going to focus on that jab. I'm going to make sure I'm throwing everything the way that it needs to be thrown, and I'm doing it correctly. Okay, that's a really good tip, especially for beginners. If you're not sure what to do or what to throw, just think of something that you want to work on. Okay, and work on it. Right? Make that the theme or the focus of the shadow boxing round rather than just throwing random stuff and hoping you get something out of it. Okay? Have a purpose or an idea. And that kind of takes me into the 5th and final tip. Shadow box with a purpose, with an intention. Okay? If you're learning a new technique or a new skill, that's your intention, right? You're learning on working on that skill or that technique. Say you just learned how to throw a knee, right? That's your intention. My intention is to learn to get that knee and get back to my stance, right? If it's a Taekwondo and I say, man, I really want to focus on that lead leg side kick, okay? I'm going to be here and I'm going to really work on popping that lead leg side kick up, right? I'll still throw other attacks and other things, but I'm always going to go back to that side kick because that's what I really want to focus on during my shadow boxing rounds, okay? So there's 5 tips there for you. All right, quick review. All right, first tip, work on your stance, work on your balance. Second tip, work on keeping your hands where they're supposed to be and being cautious of defending or protecting yourself during your shadow boxing rounds. Third one, constant movement. Try to keep your body moving, keep everything flowing. Okay? Again, that doesn't mean you got to move fast, but try to keep the motions going as you're moving around. Obviously, if you're in a real fight and you stand still, that's going to be a bad sign of things to come, right? You want to be moving constantly. You want to be flowing and throwing attacks or moving your feet, okay? And then fourth one, especially for beginners, try to pick a skill, pick a technique, something to focus on during that shadow boxing round, okay? That's going to help you out and help you understand or at least have a goal in mind to complete that round, okay? And that kind of goes hand in hand with the 5th and final tip. Shadow box with a purpose or an intention, okay? Every move, every punch, every defense, everything I do when I'm shadow boxing has to make sense, okay? If I feel like I'm off balance one way and I'm still trying to force a punch or a kick or something, then I probably shouldn't have threw that punch or that kick, all right? In a real fight, that could put me at even more of a disadvantage right? To try to throw an attack off balance, because then I might even fall even further out of balance and be really out of position to defend myself or to move or throw another technique. Okay, so work on your shadow boxing, especially when you're at home and in class. It's a great tool for helping you learn technique, to get a good cardio workout in, and to eventually move up in ranking. So shadow boxing is key. All right, keep working on that, guys. If you ever have any questions or need help with it, you always can reach out to me or Master Colin, and we can give you some advice. Okay. Thank you, guys. Have a great day.